Good Sunday morning and welcome into the Sports Source jam-packed show. Say it every week because every week it's true. We've got UT football. We're going to talk about the Vols more than a week now into fall camp. Had their first scrimmage yesterday. We're going to take stock of where they are according to what the coaches are saying. We'll also play a little over-under with some stats that I think are pretty interesting. We've gone back from 2008 through 2013. Going to compare what we think is going to happen with this year's Vol team to those last few rough years. Where will Tennessee fall in terms of offensive stats, defensive stats? You want to stick around for that. Plenty of football talk, a big breakdown of the quarterbacks as well. Let's get it all started. First segment of the show brought to you by Phil Cobble, Fine Homes and Land today. Always great stuff out there. Not only do they do a tremendous job of listing and showing your home, but no one is better than Phil Cobble, Fine Homes and Land at finding you a new home. And take a look at this property. Check out this Charleston-style, all-brick, 3-story property. This could be used as professional space, retail space, or a residence. There's even a lease-to-purchase option on that one. House hunters, you need to call Phil and his team, Phil Cobble, Fine Homes and Land. All right, I want to welcome in my team, and that is Jim Himes from the Sports Animal. You see it right there on his shirt. Bob Hodge, freelance contributor to the Knoxville News Sentinel. He's got nothing on his shirt.
Good morning.
Mike Strange of the Knoxville News Sentinel wearing a Sports Source shirt provided by Jinx Logos. And right over there, Chuck Cavaleris from Tennessee Golf Central and many other media outlets across East Tennessee. All right. Tennessee held their first official scrimmage yesterday, last night. Media wasn't allowed in. A couple of guys were held out, A.J. Johnson, Kurt Magid. But for the most part, and it might have been the first time in a week of practice, that it sounded like Butch Jones walked away kind of happy with what he saw. This team had been getting some flack, and a lot of different positions have been catching some flack. Where do you think this team is about 8 or 9 days into fall camp?
Got a long way to go. You know, and the youth is part of that, but the youth is going to help them eventually. But right now, one of the things that Butch Jones has pointed out is that they've got a lot of young guys that aren't used to practicing at this pace. And so that's hurt them a little bit. The other thing that's really mind-boggling to me is that they're not throwing and catching any better. That's something in the off-season that you can work with, your quarterbacks and your receivers. They're not doing a very good job of that right now, which surprises me. I thought with the quarterbacks with a year under their belt and then with some of the receivers they had, they would do better in that regard.
Well, I was talking to somebody who is a former player, very recent former player over there, and he said the one thing, a positive that he's noticed is, he said the terminology and everything that we spoke about last week, you're in the second year with these coaches, he said you're not having some of the issues that you had last year at this time with that, and even the younger guys are picking up on a little bit quicker because the older guys can help them out with it now instead of everybody being on the same page. So if you're looking for a positive, that's one. The learning curve as far as what they're saying and what they're trying to get them to understand to do is a little bit easier.
And Butch Jones did say last night that some of those young guys are starting to learn. After that scrimmage, that they're starting to learn the practice speed, the practice tempo they need. So you're right. He had kind of angled that all week and then gave him an attaboy last night. How much of this is mental, do you think, with what the coach is doing? I mean, you've had Robert Gillespie, who's kind of tried to tap the brakes on the Jalen Hurd stuff. The wide receivers, they've gotten a little bit of lip from Zach Kazani in terms of they're not all that yet. How much do you think this is Butch Jones just preparing his team for trying to keep their heads on straight for some of these rookies that everybody's impressed with? And how much of it do you think is real troubles?
I think 99 or 95% of it is, I wouldn't say real trouble, but I'd say it's real. It's to be expected because they're so young, but it's real.
All right, Chuck?
I think they're almost trying to make the practices like a game experience. And you've got so many young players that aren't used to that, and time is of the essence. And it does sound like they've got a lot of ground to make up. The scrimmage, you wish it would have been open so people could have seen what was going on. But there were some positives, but I think he was really concerned about, fumbling at the 2. That really seemed to bother him. And it was like a countdown day in terms of players we think we can move forward with that are ready to play now. And in other ones, we're going to have to start developing them a little bit more on the side. Right. But it's time to see who's going to be able to help you when it's August 31st rolls around.
A lot of talk about the athleticism on this team, and I don't think there's any question. That's just a step forward in almost across the board, because the second year guys are bigger than they were last year. and the new guys are faster and more athletic than the guys they brought in last year and the guys that were still sticking around from before that. Is there any way, because there's still some people out there who just have not bought into the Butch Jones thing, is there any way you could look at this program, the team, and it may not show it on the record this year, but is there any way to look at this program right now, the bodies, and say there's not progress being made?
No, I mean, sure, there's a way to do it because there are a lot of idiots in the world.
Okay. Well, is there any way for sensible people?
Right thinking people.
You know, it's going to be a long process. People don't quite realize how far that this program had fallen. No, I think, you know, that's the reason. Just sit back this year and whatever happens, let it happen. But no, you're moving forward. You're getting better. And here's the other thing. The University of Tennessee football program now is back in the national media again. Even though you're just a 5-7 football team, Butch Jones has a lot of people out there that talk about him and talk about him being a good coach, and I just don't see how that hurts you. You were in the national media a lot before, but it was a lot of different reasons.
Well, there was an article that John Bryce of VolQuest wrote. He went through the roster changes, and since the spring of 2013, 66 players had departed the program, and 66 have arrived. It's 132 players. That's a lot. Now, there are a lot of walk-ons in there, okay, granted. But that's still a lot of attrition in addition. And as somebody, excuse me, as somebody was telling me the other day, that when Butch Jones came in here, this was a 5-year project. Well, nobody wants to hear that. Most people want to look at it in year 3. If you're not showing improvement, then you got a problem.
Yeah.
But right, when you've had that much roster change, it's tough.
Guys, your thoughts on the improvement in terms of the athletes? Again, they may be in the wrong spots at times this year. They may hit a wall come November. But just in terms of the improvement in physicality and athleticism, is there any way to say that this program is not taking a big step forward at this point?
I think you see the bodies, you say it is taking a big step forward. But I would add this little caveat: when you look at that offensive line, those guys that left last year, they're in the NFL camps, and a couple of them are starting. And you look at this offensive line, and I don't quite see that yet. So.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, John. Somebody stopped me in a grocery store last night. I won't say it was a Kroger because my brother's the manager. But they said, you need to say that right there. You need to say Butch Jones is not the man. And I said, you're wrong, man. I said, it's way too soon to say that.
Yeah.
And your victories right now are recruiting victories. But I mean, that did happen last night, and it really took me aback a little bit.
And the thing is, he may not be the guy. But how do you know at this point in time that he's not the guy? There's nothing out there that says he isn't.
He looks more like the guy than the last two guys did.
Exactly.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
he may not be the guy, but he looks a lot more like the guy than the last two. So I
even tried to point out how this staff has won championships at other places and how they've been together. And sometimes you just can't reason with someone like that. So I just walked away.
I just think the problem is, and we know we're going to hear it for the rest of the. I mean, once they get into Norman, Oklahoma, and their heads get taken off, and I'm going to get an email for that. They're going to beat Oklahoma, but once they get clobbered by Oklahoma, it's going to be get rid of this guy. He's a loser. He's just like Derek Dooley. So that's why. And if anybody's saying, "Well, you guys talk him up," well, talking him up now to try and get people to understand.
You know what I want to tell people like
what
that?
they're doing.
You're not really the type of fan Tennessee needs. So go ahead and jump off the bandwagon now. I mean, I'm serious. I mean, if you're
I'm guessing Dave Hart and the guys selling tickets would argue. But
no, I mean, if you're that delusional and out of touch, just go ahead and get off. Go ahead and get off the bandwagon right now.
And I appreciate Chuck taking over from my idiot comment. Thank you very much.
Well, you just look at it. It's one of those things where, would you bet your house on Butch Jones succeeding here? No. But if I'm going to have to invest a little bit, I'd put a little money on that. I'd buy stock in Butch Jones and what he's doing so far. And I think the biggest thing, and you continue to hear it, folks who are over there say, boy, this guy can make plays. And now they got a guy over here who can make plays. And Emmanuel Mosley, can make plays. Mm-hmm. That's just a change, and it may not show up this year, but I think you're going to see it continue for the next year or two. So to me, when you're looking at this,
and not just recruiting, I'm not over there all the time, but when I'm over there and what we see in practice and being around him, I believe he's doing a good job of coaching this team too. I really do.
I agree with Mike.
And the players like him.
Mm-hmm.
And the ex-players like it.
And amazing that they're in better shape academically. There's nobody right now that's in danger of not playing. In terms of arrests and issues, you had one party that got a little out of hand, then that became nothing. They kind of washed that one away. It was certainly not a fist fight brawl like we've seen in the past. I don't think that when you look at this program, you can honestly say, yeah, it's not going in the right direction. It may not get there, may not reach the destination, but at least I think the train has turned onto the right track. So we'll see.
Back on the track.
Back on the track. It's even better. All right, when we come back, we're going to take stock of the quarterback situation. Lots to talk about there. Worley, Dobbs, Peterman, or is it Worley, Peterman, Dobbs? We'll discuss. Come on back on the Sports Source.